This takes me back to the very first episode. Be doing it like this. Yeah. Welcome to the Broken Pencil Booking Company Pro Wrestling Podcast, infused with hip hop. I am Wood.
Made daily with organic, farm to table, sterilized, and FDA approved broken pencil logic. You stay classy, internet. I'm Suave Burgundy.
Why not? Why not? Today is Wednesday, May the 6th, year of our Lord.
Year of our Lord.
20 and 20. And we are embarking upon the weirdest Money in the Bank we've ever seen. You know who ain't gonna win is coming up. You know we gotta do. You know who ain't gonna win if we got a pay-per-view coming up. So, especially one that's gonna be like one of those the new major. This is a new major here, so yeah, we got to do it. You know he ain't gonna win. Lots of news, man. We got one of the Usos took a L. We'll talk about that. We got another release that we should have seen it coming from left field, but there were so many that hit us at one time back in April that this one completely went under the radar, and they threw this one on the table like it was a trump card. So we'll talk about that. We got a couple of debuts on NXT TV. We got some progress here in AEW. And then we also have EC3 has popped up with I can't call it an alter ego. This is pretty much who he really is. Like, for real. And he's also got he's helping out some help.
He took his car to the detail shop, got it waxed and polished up, came around with a new coat of paint.
But what car would that be? Would that be the Benz or would that be the Mustang?
This looks more like the Mustang.
Definitely looks like the Mustang. I totally agree. There we go. Yeah, totally agree with the Mustang aspect of this one here. In fact, without further ado, let's jump into it. Shit. I mean, we're already here. So,
I mean, it's either that or we got to address how we are, 3 weeks removed from WrestleMania, and we're still not talking about Roman Reigns on TV.
We're a month removed at this point, almost a month to the day removed from it at this point.
You're actually correct. Wow, time is flying.
Yeah, because COVID, bitch.
Good, bitch.
COVID. Yeah, so Roman has still not been mentioned on TV. We haven't seen him. It's almost like he doesn't exist, like he's been erased from the annals of WWE history. What the fuck?
Bleacher Report is saying he was edited out of a WrestleMania 31 package that was shown recently. It's just like,
wow, wait, what? That I didn't see.
I literally just saw that on Bleacher Report's timeline. That because they were the first ones that I saw break the idea that Roman was in the doghouse and not going to be mentioned on television. Well, it says apparently Roman Reigns hasn't been mentioned on TV since withdrawing from WrestleMania. WWE also edited him out of a WrestleMania 31 replay on Raw.
I see. I didn't realize what was because Raw, because we've been like all of the major pay-per-views over the last 5 years, 6 years, really, since the network has been on, really even longer than that, even since before the network. We watch those ad nauseum. So like if they show an old pay-per-view on Raw or SmackDown, chances are that's flip TV time. Go get something to eat, use the restroom, whatever it is. I don't have to sit there and watch that because we have so much other content to consume to get ready to do this show. That being said, if anything from any previous WrestleManias was shown on WWE TV, and that includes Fox, I'm not watching it because I have the network or I've already seen it.
I'm not watching any of the replays on FS1. To be honest, for the last 2-3 months, Raw has been background noise. It's one of those things like out of necessity for content for the show to kind of stay in the loop. And just the fact that it's become sort of a routine. Raw is just on Monday, but I'm usually doing a whole bunch of other stuff. Like I'm scrolling my phone, I'm working on my phone, I'm doing all type of other stuff, having other conversations. Like it's not appointment television. It just it's either this or binge watch something on Netflix.
It's watching us. We're not watching it for sure.
That part.
Now, that's insane. So this is a guy who third generation. Truth be told, the unofficial first family of wrestling, the NOIE family, he's wrestling royalty. He's actually been the person that you have built your company around for the last 9 years, and has left to battle leukemia, has come back. You didn't have to do any extra work to make the people love him because he became himself. For the one thing we've all wanted is for him to be something different than what the machine was pushing, only to take it all away like it never existed. What the hell is wrong with the E for this one? Did he do something else that we don't know about? Because as far as I'm concerned, having cancer makes you immunocompromised. Compromising is a very telltale sign that you need to stay far the fuck away from anything related to COVID-19.
You're talking about a person who fired an entire football league of people and filed bankruptcy so you wouldn't have to pay severance. Wow. There's a level of petty that goes on that just doesn't exist other places. And we're just at a point where you're seeing it on display. Like we've heard stories of this for years of like different petty stuff. We've just never seen anything. We've never seen anyone who we thought was valued as highly as Roman Reigns be treated in such a way. But this isn't surprising to me. This is not earth-shattering news. Like I would expect this in this situation. Here's the thing though. You're not going to fire him. You're not gonna suspend him. You're not gonna cut his pay. When crowds are back and everything's fine, you're gonna expect him to go out and be one of your top money earners. You're gonna send him to do PR because he's a face that's recognizable, that plays well on camera. His story is, forever acceptable, and he's forever ingrained in WWE at this point. So what you're doing is you're cutting off your hand to spite the fucking arm.
Add to the fact that you're going to increase the contract time by retro time left. So if he was absent for, say, 10 months, his contract is now being extended by 10 months. Now, quote us on this. We're not lawyers, so don't think that what we're saying is law. But past evidence has shown us future results. And based on others who were in a lesser position than he, this seems to be the norm going forward because now there are options.
When you're dealing with any type of situation where shit breaks down and starts to get petty, there are other extremes that they're willing to go to. So it'll be, well, we're gonna roll this over because you missed this time. We're gonna add this back on because you took off for this, and it'll be like, well, you didn't fulfill what was on the paperwork. They would never let him go, and they would throw the house at him to keep him, because if you fuck around and let him just stay in Florida and work with the group in Florida, there's a lot of money to be made for him elsewhere.
What if we had Jon Moxley and Joe NOIE?
Hell, what if Dwayne just decided to help his cousin get a leg up? On the cool, what if $7 Productions just had their leading man to go do whatever movie they were deciding to go do,
and you never wrestle another match again anywhere?
You got to start understanding that, hey, there is life after WWE. Yes, it is a huge company. It is a fixture in the world of pro wrestling. You can't think pro wrestling in the real world without thinking WWE. But there are certain people on that roster that are earmarked for success beyond what you can give them.
And there are also other people in Florida that would like to change your mind to think that there is life outside of WWE that still revolves around wrestling.
And that's the one person you fuck around and let them walk to the other side of the street, you're going to have a problem.
You might have a fire sale just to bring him in because there's TV for 6 months minimum at a very high level that probably would trump anything that WCW ever did to WWE.
Bam, that's a culture shift. Like imagine if Scott Hall walked off from his contract over to WCW in this internet climate.
we would already know. We already know he'd show up on TNT, before he even set foot in the building. We would know that.
But I'm saying, you could have second coming of the NWO if some stupid shit like that were to happen.
Man, there are too many ifs if you treat this badly. And the one if that could happen right now could be litigation if it gets to that point, simply because what the odds of him actually getting paid to stay home are, to me, I think it would be slim to none. But they would have to if they're the ones that keep him off TV. One would think, correct?
Given the circumstances, you could try to. Here's the thing. I feel like you only make this situation worse if you start trying to tamper with contracts and talk about money right now. During this pandemic, until we are at a situation where it is irrefutable that he is in no danger, in no physical danger to come back to work, you can't touch him. It is you think we've had bad PR. You think closing the XFL and filing for bankruptcy was bad. You think firing 2-3 dozen people right after you were named an essential workplace is bad. Attack someone with cancer in a pandemic for not endangering their life.
For doing
you're going to have You're going to have nothing short of a fucking firestorm.
You're practicing everything. You're practicing everything that's told to be good expected behavior for those who do not want to contract said disease.
Exactly. So you're basically going to have. It's going to be a fucking firestorm. It's going to be ridiculous, the amount of backlash. And then, to be honest, I think Roman would have the better case. But I don't think it could get that far. I don't think anybody's going to go into trying to claim money or trying to. I don't even think Roman's deal is up anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean that's another conversation I don't even want to get into because, like I said, I mean that's not something that I don't recall ever seeing any paperwork or any documentation online that says that his contract was extended. Most people because they let it be known, or the E lets it be known. Like Randy Orton, I think, was the last high profile talent that was rumored to walk, that was working on a day-to-day deal, but that still stayed with the company, who had a contract extension that was granted or that was met in the last, I guess, couple of years, and that was just back in November when that happened, because there were signs that it may have been him trolling, but there were signs that were pointing to him going to Jacksonville. And when backstage, it was announced that his contract was extended. But that conversation only happens with people that people care about. And I would say Randy Orton was a name that WWE cared about more than the public. So it made it seem like for the public who wanted him to go elsewhere, it was just a way to say, don't get your hopes up. He's staying here for the long haul. We haven't gotten that from Seth Rollins, or we didn't get that from. Well, we got Moxley leaving Dean Ambrose leaving. We got that information, but we didn't get no other high profile talent in the last 2-3 years has said that has let it be known that there's a contract extension, whether it be by themselves or whether it be from WWE corporate themselves.
Well, Dean Ambrose / John Moxley let it be known, I don't care how much money you offer me, I'm leaving. The creative sucks. Randy basically played both ends against the middle to get more money, but to be perfectly honest, I think he would have got that money anyway. Yeah. Seth isn't going anywhere because he doesn't want to go anywhere. And he's glad to take whatever money they offer him because he apparently feels wanted at WWE. He doesn't have a problem with the creative, or if he does, he's not going to say anything about it. He's just going to be ultimate company guy for the rest of his life until they cut him loose. And even then, he'll probably move into a Triple H role.
There you go.
I really think he might be playing a long game like that. But we've talked a lot about how this is could potentially go bad for WWE. How about I take this pencil from behind my ear and we figure out how this could go incredibly right for WWE.
Okay.
So in my mind, this is how it works. Now, obviously, you don't see Roman again on television or anywhere close until you have crowds in play again. When Roman comes back, he's going to get a tremendous ovation because, you know, people are smart. People are going to read. So once he's able to come back and perform, it'll be similar to when he made his announcement about being in remission, but it won't be not so many tears, but it'll be a lot of support because he's, air quotes, endured. Let his ovation play out. Don't say a word. When Roman decides to speak, he cuts the most scathing, finger-pointing, absolutely
the same thing you would expect from someone who jumped ship, but you let him do it at home.
Yes. All aimed at Vince McMahon.
Without saying names.
Say names.
Well, you know, that's the cardinal sin. You know that's the cardinal sin is not to say his name. So my thing is, what's more impactful? Do you say his name, knowing it's the cardinal sin, or do you not say his name and let it be implied?
You do what the New Day does and say he who is not to be named, and then you circle back around and then say his name. But I mean, like, you cut from asshole to appetite with this promo. And then this is where you go and you kind of break down that fourth wall. Who comes out to defend the name of WWE? Not Vince McMahon, not Triple H, because we've seen both of those. Vince can't perform and be in a situation to do anything physical with Roman Reigns. We've seen Triple H, been there, done that, don't want to go back. Mm-hmm. You walk out the Monday Night Messiah, Mr. WWE, front and center, and let him defend it because you know you're going to get a better match out of those two. But you have essentially turned Roman Reigns into a modern version of Steve Austin.
Mr. Anti-establishment, because you're coming for me. Like, you are the man, you're coming for me.
Right. And so Seth would be his first opponent. Obviously, we want him going over Seth, but they can have some incredible matches. And then I would say you turn Roman loose. You just basically let him get involved in anything that seems like it might be heavily WWE branded and let him try to ruin it.
The only other person that you could people that you could possibly ruin in that scenario would be Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre. And the reason I don't include Bray Wyatt / The Fiend is because, truth be told, Bray Wyatt is probably going to be in the same boat mentally that Roman Reigns in that scenario would be verbally. Because
I wouldn't necessarily have him. Oh, go ahead.
I'm saying, because so they could be strange bedfellows almost to the point of like a when Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt joined up, but as opposed to being a tag team, almost being like one of those things where like Bray may show up or the Fiend may show up if Roman's in trouble and dip out, but you never really see them like come to like a handshake agreement. Like they're the mega powers that don't have the handshake. You know what I'm saying?
I want Roman as a man without a country. I don't want them involved. I don't want him involved with anybody else. I want him literally just a sovereign nation unto himself. The only other thing that works for me, and I'll say this until they destroy anything that relates to this, is the dynasty. You put the Samoan dynasty together at least one time, so that way you know if shit hits the fan, it's going to happen. We're going to mount up on your ass.
and that includes Tamina and Naomi.
You could eventually get there. What you would probably get is 4, maybe 5 max. I kind of feel like if you did 4 and it was Roman, Nia Jax, and the Usos, you could get away with that.
Man.
But for the first 6+ months, I want Roman basically coming out, putting his feet up on the table and cutting commentary and like dogging everything on camera.
Like being a heel, but being revered for telling the truth, but speaking what's on his mind for being wronged. I can dig that.
I basically want him to be the voice of the internet community.
Well, while we're talking about being wronged, there's a couple of quick hits that I want to go with you, which we talked about in the agenda here. This is the most recent of one of them, courtesy of Twitter, EC3.
Workhorses. Dependable. Steady. Reliable. Define teamwork. Putting an objective over the accomplishment of the individual. Define tag team. 2 singularities. 1 vision. Boots, trunks, fists, no flips. The classics never die. Masters of the lost art of applying complicated formulas executed to precision. In an industry where respect of your peers, studying your craft, painting in-ring masterpiece brings you nothing but ire and resentment, you rise above. FTW. No. FTR. Fear the revolt. Your names are Dax and Cash, and you've been warned.
Yeah, so that's EC3 talking about Dax and Cash Wheeler, Fear the Revolt, formerly Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, The Revival. I like it. I like it a lot. First of all, the first thing this shows is EC3's depth as a real character. He got chops, fam. His promo skills are impeccable.
I mean, wrestling and the whole idea of the promo in 2020 is just B-movie acting. So as long as you can look at the camera and not flinch and stay on topic, everybody can have a good promo.
But staying on topic usually means memorizing your lines. This is bullet point. You take bullet points. You have a topic and you stay on that and you deliver. And that was 60 seconds.
Yeah, like, okay. Assume that we compare being a wrestler in 2020 cutting promos to being a rapper in 2020 and having a decent verse. Like, the bar is not exactly that high. And this is not to dog out EC3. I think, once the character fleshes out, I think it'll probably be something that people get behind. But there's not a lot of groundbreaking stuff going on. Like, even when Jon Moxley did his escape from prison type thing,
right?
It was cool because there was like the inside joke. Him escaping prison is like, breaking out of WWE. So there's like the tongue in cheek. But did you hear anything get said that's like, man, this is fucking innovative? Like, the way Mick Foley was cutting promos in ECW in like the mid 90s, or Steve Austin when he left WCW cutting promos in ECW in the mid 90s, or even the way they say, let's see, who was somebody who's really highly touted? Okay, Bray Wyatt when he first debuted with the Wyatt family and the whole character, how they were like, he cuts promos on a level that we've never seen before.
Right. I mean, it's not that it's groundbreaking. The thing is, this generation hasn't seen this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this generation of wrestling fans haven't seen this. I mean, there's not. I ask this question: what more can you, as a wrestling fan that's been a wrestling fan for easily 80% of your life, if not longer? What more can you see that you have not seen?
I don't think it's that I can see something I haven't seen, but I can, at the very least, the presentation can be altered a little bit, or the presentation can be it can be more relatable. And
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. The thing is, though, because we've seen so much and their expectations are actually so low, we still have to give credence to the fact that this is a new crop of people. This is a new crop of fan. So that fan, the new fan, hasn't seen anything like, people of high caliber who are world champions and other organizations coming in, being used to do nothing, and then actually having more relevance as a free agent and literal purgatory, waiting for their contracts to completely expire so they can go work elsewhere, which by my calculations will be July 14th of this year when that happens, which ironically is a Tuesday.
That's more or less because there hasn't been anywhere else to go. So the idea of being a free agent didn't really exist. So when you say new fan, I guess I would need to see what demographic we're talking about as new fan, because it's been done. It's just now you have the idea of someone being a free agent, or you have.
Think of a 12 or 13. What is a 12 or 13-year-old seeing in relationship to something that would be more emotionally realistic than what's happening? And this is just an example. I'm not saying that other than Jon Moxley last year, but this is just an example. What is a 12 or 13-year-old seeing who watches wrestling that's anywhere remotely close to this? And that's A. And B, do you think that they are even appreciating it?
No.
Okay, that might be where the disconnect is, the fact that you think they're not appreciating it. And if that's the case, then I can agree with that too.
I don't think a 12 or 13-year-old is really so overly invested in the idea of what a 1%er even means. Because you're using buzz terms that okay, millennials understand what you're talking about. So I get that part. But, 12, 13, 14, 15, that's you getting real narrow with who you going to hit cutting that promo, thinking that's who you're aiming at.
Well, I specifically played that clip and not the 1% clip because of him talking about the revival. The one thing we haven't seen is a star who had no tie-ins to anybody else in the organization by which they both work side by side tout somebody else who was not even in the video. He's touting the revival, and they weren't even in the video. Their faces weren't even in the video. He just mentioned their names. And he had absolutely no relevance to them when they worked together. That's something we haven't seen in a long time.
It feels a lot like what else you got.
Okay. I like where it's going. I like the nostalgia of it. And that could be what it is for me. I just think that because there's another major now, that we have officially 3 majors if we include New Japan. Because for the longest time, we weren't able to include New Japan, even though we knew that they were there. We couldn't include them because they had no presence in the U.S. But since they've had some presence in the U.S. over the years, and I think they'll probably have some more once things open back up, especially at the top of 2021, I got a feeling that they're going to be tying in with, that's just me personally thinking. I haven't seen anything that tells me otherwise. I think they're going to be tying in more with AEW. I think they're going to leave. They may even tie in with ROH to a degree still, but I really think that tie-in with New Japan for America for a better TV outlet is going to be more so with AEW versus ROH. That's just my thinking.
Okay, check this out. What's the difference between EC3 and Sean Spears?
The EC3 was a world heavyweight champion when it mattered for a company that
no one cared about.
Well, they cared about it then. They were slowly stopping to care about it. But Sean Spears can't even say that. Sean Spears never held a belt in WWE or NXT.
All I'm saying is like they told the exact same story in their, like everybody has the same story. I was underutilized and I'm going to be breakout star when I get here. And it's like, is everybody going to cut the same fucking narrative?
Well, no, because we talked about this a few days ago in our text thread. Leo Rush was on Twitter or Instagram basically saying that this was, he may have wrestled his last match right before he got released from WWE. And that man's not even 30. He's not even 30 years old.
I mean, it's a good way to make people forget you before someone else offers you a bag.
We also have Drake Maverick, a.k.a. Rockstar Spud, who's taking independent bookings, but is still part of the Cruiserweight tournament.
That's rough.
Yeah. And he thinks that he may have wrestled his last matches. So, like, I don't think that whole woe is me right now. We're not getting the woe is me. Even from EC3, we're not getting woe is me. We're not getting the I was underutilized. What EC3 is saying with the I'm not a 1%.
He did say he was underutilized.
No. He said that more so before he became the asshole of EC3 in Impact in TNA years ago. This time around, it's a little bit different because he's basically saying everything that he was telling you was a lie. The real truth is, I'm not that person. I'm not in that upper echelon of people. I'm just like you, and I'm still trying to fight for my position. And I'm better. I'm better than they think I am, and I've shown you that I'm better than they think I am. And I want to have the opportunity to do that again here really soon, like in 2 months and a week. And that's
I'm
what
that's for EC3 to finally get his opportunity, but yawn snore.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, how many times can you be yo-yo? This is that to that credit. That's almost as bad as me giving a fuck about another Big Show heel face turn. And I understand why he was on Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand why they put him in that storyline with Drew McIntyre for WrestleMania. I understand why he was on TV. I just don't understand why he was interjected into that storyline, knowing that he is a veteran in position. Who is being trained the old school way, which is you help make younger talent. If you're going to go out, you go out on your back. And being 7 foot, whatever the fuck, and 300 odd pounds out here, he's basically the same size he was when he started wrestling. You realize that, which is a testament to him for his work ethic. All the knee surgeries and stuff he's had, in his hip surgery, he's at the same size that he was when he started back in 1994. But now he's in his 40s, he's in his mid 40s, and he's still clamoring for a main event spot because he's being put there, all for the reason of him having a sitcom on Netflix. That I don't agree with. And now we have another heel turn from someone who's actually likable. Like, in the era where social media and the world is like, there are no fans who cheer or boo. There are no heels or faces. And Flair, people. We'll talk about. Let me add it to the agenda too. Flair and this heel shit, whatever. There are no heels and faces. There are people. There are no boos. There are no cheers. Vince McMahon said there are only reactions. If you don't get a reaction, that's like a boo in the 80s because no one cares about you. Big Show's not getting a reaction. Lucha House Party's not getting a reaction. And truth be told, you only have Lucha House Party on there to represent Brown, to represent south of the border. That's the only reason why they're on TV. They are a very talented group of guys, but no one cares about them because they don't have anything to care about.
You don't let them actually you say they on TV to represent Brown.
Yes.
You don't actually get to represent any of the actual culture other than wearing masks.
Yep, other than being luchadors. That's it. I'm sorry. And jumping around and doing flips because they're athletic as fuck.
Yeah, there are 3 Hispanics in their mid to late 20s. I'm pretty sure they have other things they can be relatable about other than being
Stereotypical, i.e. the Mexicools. This is the Mexicools in 2020. This is the politically correct Mexicools.
God, that's depressing.
Yeah, it is.
That is bad.
So is the appearance of Big Show right now and at WrestleMania when he had no business on TV whatsoever. And this is not a knock on the Big Show. Actually, I like watching the Big Show because I think he's an athletic big man. But what are you doing when we have to be wondering what side of the fence you're on? Like, why do you want people to hate you when you have a sitcom? You know, you're not Jason Bateman and fucking Ozark. You're fucking Big Show in the Big Show.
As a family guy,
wife and kids as a retired professional wrestler, like you're playing yourself, fam. What's so bad about playing yourself? Why do I not want to like you for playing yourself? And you've done well.
You see, WWE Creative is to blame for that. Like that. Big Show didn't. That I'm pretty sure that's not an idea he pitched. That's something that was given to him. And I'm like, well, shit. Here's yet another example. See, here's the thing that kills me about watching WWE content since we've been in social distancing. Now you actually have to watch the show, and a hot crowd can't save you from bad creative. Because you can go a lot of places and get a pretty decent crowd who's just happy to see you, and they'll take a mediocre show and elevate it to another level. You don't have that. You just have terrible creative with no laugh track.
Say that. And not having a crowd does not help the situation at all in this case.
So you're starting to see people on social media, the pundits of wrestling social media, start to mirror some of the ideals that we've been saying on this show for quite some time. When you watch the show without a live crowd, without the distraction of a live crowd, and you actually just have to analyze the content that's on television, it's not very good at all.
Yeah.
It's just not. And this is a problem that was taking place long before we even moved into a pandemic mode. You know,
I'm just glad.
This time last year, we had this issue.
I'm glad we had more than Raw to look at over the last 4 weeks to compile information to do these shows with. Because if Raw was the bar, we'd be doing more more pre-recorded content than just doing our regular episodes. There'd be a lot more rewrites and a lot more broken pencil science theaters. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, now that's the one thing we can thank them for. The fact that they haven't been really giving us much as far as on-screen content to discuss. It's opened the door for us to get further into our bag about the way we create content and the things that we put forward and different ideas that we want to expand on. So for that, we thank you.
Word to Taj.0.
You know what I'm saying? For that, we thank you.
All right, so we can park that one on the railroad track. Real quick before we go into some more meat here, we had he's so childish. We have I guess since we're talking about EC3 and the Fear the Revolt, courtesy of Authors of Wrestling on Instagram. Shouts out to the homie Authors of Wrestling. Fightful reported some interesting stuff about Dax Harwood, formerly Scott Dawson, and Cash Wheeler, formerly Dash Wilder, in their releases from WWE. It was reported that WWE opposed several trademarks that they filed related to the revival last week, which included No Flips, Just Fists, hashtag FTRKO, and Say Yeah. It was clear that both former members of the revival were looking to get out of their contracts, and WWE had planned on extending both of them due to them being out of action for a period of time. Turns out during the weeks of negotiations that they finally came to an agreement where they would both be released from their contracts, but they had to agree to turn over their trademarks?
I think what I find the coolest about this is that they pretty much they hedged their bets. They copywrote as much stuff as they could and used that as a bargaining chip not to get railroaded.
Okay.
Because like with the trade, basically they used some of the trademarks that they had as, you know, kind of a bartering chip to get out. Because they could have just kept it and then, you know, they would have had to ride the contract out, sit it out. They wouldn't have gotten released. It would have rolled over and then it probably been sitting, another 9 months or so? Because they weren't going to get fired. They were just going to keep making the same money for, you know, another year maybe. Let's say the total of time they missed between the injuries that they had when they first debuted totals a year?
Maybe 15 months.
18 months? Yeah, something like that. So they would have sat for that long. And shit, I mean, it kind of depends. Like merchandising wise, I feel like you probably could have held on to those trademarks, rolled the contract out, and probably come out richer in the end. But when you're ready to go, you're ready to go. Now, that part I do know from different situations that have gone on in the past. When you're ready to get out of a situation, you're ready to get out.
No doubt.
So it's like, you know, it's the whole, you made Hove, okay, make another Hove. So we made these hashtags, we made these, you know, trademarks. We can make some more stuff. Don't even worry about it. You can have it. It's cool. Just cut us loose.
Sidebar on that. I heard a motherfucker saying they made Hove. Made Hove say, okay, so make another Hove. I don't know if you remember back Bird Gang Money, Jim Jones. Noe Ekin was on that song. And apparently Noe Ekin was Bird Gang's version of the other Hove. Based off cadence and delivery. If you go back and listen to some of his work, you can understand.
Did not know that.
Yeah, that's my understanding. That's what Lore has told me over the years. So little hip hop and thrown up into the Broken Pistol Booker Company Pro Wrestling podcast that's infused with said shit we just talked about. So I made mention of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. There was a story that came out about a year ago that's making its rounds right now. It says, quote, fans who use terms like face and heel I have no respect for because they're not wrestlers. I don't like outsiders using wrestling talk. I have no respect for it whatsoever. Quick question for you, Suave. What is the most abused yet lucrative, financially lucrative industry in the world right now? The most abused yet financially lucrative industry or culture in the world right now?
That would be hip hop culture, sir.
That would be hip hop culture. And that's evidenced by everything that we see from John Cena and a spinner belt. Granted, this is not taking away anything from John Cena's credibility because being from Boston, Massachusetts, or even West Newbury near Roxbury, rich hip hop culture in history in the Boston area. Rich hip hop history in the Northeast. In fact, one would argue that hip hop started in the Northeast, specifically Sedgwick and Cedar in 1974, August 11th to be exact, or 1973 rather. Over the years, we've seen rap songs performed during commercial breaks of Young and the Restless as it relates to selling pudding, bleach, toilet paper, you name it. Rap or in hip hop has been involved in the dancing and selling toys during after school cartoons. But you give a fuck about an industry that barely gave a fuck about you? Where you've had all these kids and all these marriages And all you can go and say, all you can say for yourself is that you were the best scripted performer in the history of a business.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna slightly differ, but there's a method to my madness. I'm gonna give Ric Flair the opportunity to. I'm gonna co-sign. Like, you can say whatever you want because you've dedicated
your entire life,
say 50 years. Yeah, you've dedicated a lifetime, 50 years to the business. If that is your stance on professional wrestling and the fans that speak about it, cool. I understand it. I respect your right to feel that way. I'm not going to stop anything, but I respect your right to feel that way. We're dealing with a segment of the there's a segment of the population included in this discussion that is really huge on controlling the narrative on inclusion. So it's like, this is a fraternity. We don't let everybody in. We don't let everybody in on the secrets, but we still want your money. Keep paying. This is entertainment. It's just certain people just don't understand that you don't get to push the buttons on who's included, who's invited.
This is akin to a banker being mad at a drug dealer for using a term like bottom line.
Right. Like, come on. Like, I hate to be so graphic, but fuck it. Like, if you're ex-military and it's murder for hire, you're a contract killer, or you're just, you're in privatized security. You do that shit in the hood, you're an animal.
I haven't driven a truck since 2013. How many times do you hear me say 10-4 on the phone conversation? Probably at least once a week.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, because here's the thing: like, Ric Flair now has his hands in a lot of different shit. So if he starts using hip hop terms, am I going to be the type that says, well, no, Ric Flair can't say that? You can't say MC or you can't say bars.
Hip hop hired Ric Flair.
That part,
and he ain't never rapped.
Hip hop has kept Ric Flair relevant.
Gave him new life. The same way. What was it? Hangover reinvigorated Mike Tyson. Hip hop has reinvigorated Ric Flair without having to even set foot into a wrestling ring.
So I mean,
the nerve of you.
I'm gonna let him cook. I'm gonna let you finish. But yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm still gonna describe what I see with the terms that I know. Now, if people were using the terms incorrectly, or they were just, you're saying shit and you don't know the definition, you don't know what it means, that I could completely understand that. But we are in the post kayfabe era. Like, you're gonna be mad at anybody about exposing.
Oh, careful now! There's another wrestling term there.
Fuck that! I said what I said in my petty Messiah voice. Like, if we're gonna be mad, like, you got to go all the way back to '96 and be mad at them for pulling the curtain back, because everything after that was like, fuck it. It's no longer wrestling like we're trying to hide or even reshape reality. It's sports entertainment where we're telling you that this is scripted and staged. So now we just using the terms that we hear on television all the time.
If you didn't want us, if you didn't want us fans or broadcasters or podcasters to say these things, you should have never brought it to the forefront for us to know what those terms mean.
If you watch a football game and then you learn, like, okay, Tony Romo would be mad at someone for learning what a zone defense is from his commentary.
Tony Romo is literally telling you how to coach from the press box. He's telling you how to coach.
Part, he's giving you a live tutorial on coaching football. Like, the information is being freely put into the atmosphere. So I don't see how you can sit there and be that type of judgmental. However, again, I go back to my original point. I respect your right to feel this way. It's just be careful because that door swings both ways.
Yeah.
Like that door opens and closes. So if sneaker culture decides they don't want you, getting involved in shoes and trying to sell shoes just because you're famous, you're going to have to live with that. If at some point the hip hop community stops prostituting itself on the major market side and decide they don't really want that same relationship with you, you're going to have to live with that.
All that put to bed. Another quick hit here. Following or during the WrestleMania ladder match for the tag team championships, it appears that Jimmy Uso was injured. And to what degree, or to what the injury was, it probably was a knee injury. He's out 6 to 9 months right now, which apparently is why the Forgotten Sons were called up. What do we do with Jay?
Send him home.
That's painful, man. That's so painful. I mean, you don't want to start flirting with him as being a singles competitor, because in 9 months you actually can get him to a point to where he's challenging for a mid-card championship and possibly even being involved in a multi-man world championship match. But if you're not going to do anything with him long term, I'm with you, man. There's absolutely no reason to have him on TV to risk injury before his brother comes back, because they are the tag team division. They're as much as the tag team division as New Day and Street Profits, and that's pretty much all I got, right? Oh, and War Machine. I'm going to call him War Machine. I'm going to call him Clay. I'm going to call him Clay. Though that's pretty much your tag division right there. Is those 4 teams.
All the money you have available to make with the Usos is with them together. So send him home.
There's that. Another major blow, which sucks as we're bringing up tag teams. Cain Velasquez was released by WWE. Why is this a major blow? On the debut episode of SmackDown on Fox, Brock Lesnar won the Universal Championship from Kofi Kingston in near record time. And out comes Cain Velasquez, forgotten instantly as Kofi Kingston. Kofi, who never received a rematch, had to watch as Cain Velasquez in his very first WWE match lost to Brock Lesnar in just over 2 minutes in Saudi Arabia, and has never been seen or heard from in WWE since. And apparently won't be, since his record leaving WWE is now 0-1. In a World Heavyweight Championship match at that. Your thoughts, Swab?
Maybe it's the idea that instead of a major blow, this is a major whiff, because they completely missed the mark with this. We didn't like it when it happened. I didn't like the whole Super Showdown, with the way that went down, knowing that this man needed reconstructive knee surgery. Knowing that there's a small story. There is a story there, but there's not enough equity. There's that word again. There's not enough equity to really cash in on it. So
here's another aspect a lot of people aren't thinking about. Regardless of how long it's been and how old this man is, this would now be the 3rd time that Dominic has been involved in WWE storylines to be completely ripped away and have those storylines balled up and thrown in his face and eventually into the trash can.
Well, I mean, you plan, if you
fail to plan, you plan to fail.
That and proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
One more time. Very deserved.
Proper planning prevents piss poor performance. So if you had put the proper planning into this the way you should have, then you would not then be severing ties. Now, what I do truly feel is that once everything is back to air quotes normal, Kane is going to be back in WWE, because you can't chance him going somewhere else.
The only place I could see him going, if only for 6 months to a year, would be the AAA or CMLL. Simply because simply because he has a he has a following down there, and he already has a mask down there. In fact, his gimmick is in a mask, and he looks huge down there.
I'd like to see him go to Japan for a tour.
I like to see him be ready enough to go to Japan for a tour, because they're hitting hard as hell. They're hitting harder than ever in Japan right now. I wouldn't be mad at it.
That's kind of what he'd be able to get some seasoning. And the reason I would want him to go to Japan for that seasoning is that at some point you could get a Jake Hager, Cain Velasquez match in AEW that elevates Jake Hager, or Jake Hager, because he's the one who's actually on your roster now.
Okay, I like that. Killer Cross finally shows up on NXT TV with Scarlett Bordeaux and his new moniker, Karrion Kross. And I must say, I really like that entrance. Don't know if you get a chance to see it.
I haven't seen it. I will check that out as soon as we get this wrapped up, and then, I'll be able to add something at a later date.
All right, cool. So there's your homework, pencil pushers, is go check out NXT from Wednesday, May 6th, and specifically the match or the debut in the match with Karrion Kross featuring Scarlett Bordeaux as his corner. And
I'm not gonna lie, WWE TV has just had a negative effect. Like, after sitting through Monday or sitting around Monday, it doesn't make you want to dive into the product more. It doesn't really make anything else enjoyable. I've completely just backed away from SmackDown. I haven't watched any of Backstage since they've been back recording over Skype or whatever vehicle they're using.
Yeah, I haven't seen Backstage since before Mania, and I'm being 100% honest with you on that.
I saw one episode since then, but I'm like, they're basically doing Zoom calls. I'm cool on that.
Yeah, so that's part.
And then
that's First Take on Fox. Is basically what that is. Yeah. So on our last piece before we jump into who ain't gonna win, we have the Dark Side of the Ring. Last week for April 30th, we had was it 29th? I think it was April 29th. April 29th, we had Dr. D. David Schultz as he slapped the piss out of John Stossel and the whole story behind that. And then this week we had Herb Abrams and the rise and fall of the Herb Abrams with the UWF, the second incarnation of the Universal Wrestling Federation. Did you get a chance to watch either or both of those?
Saw both of them, enjoyed both of them. I've come to a conclusion, though. Season 1, in its totality, is like dog slapping season 2.
They came. So I was the Herb Abrams story. Remember when I was going down the list of what the shows were going to be for this season. This one was one of the ones that piqued my interest. I'd say this one and New Jack were the two that piqued my interest more than any others. We already the Benoit story had been beat to death. We redid the damn Brawl for All our damn self. We briefly touched on Dino Bravo. The only thing that we learned that we didn't know was other alleged involvements in his surrounding his mysterious death. But like the Herb Abrams thing was like, again, I didn't know how involved he was with trying to build this empire and how much money he squandered in the process, let alone him squandering it on hookers and blow.
I guess the part in the Herb Abrams story where they lost me was trying to make what you just described seem like a tragedy. Like, this dude hookered and blowed himself
to
into
death.
Oblivion. And you want me to feel sorry for him.
The man died, and there are more stories that may or may not be true surrounding his death. Like that's a hero's death when you have that many stories being told, you have tall tales being told about how you went out. Anything from either Vaseline and or baby oil and covered in Coke to stripping butt naked in a cell after you got knocked out from, I mean, it was just, there was so many different stories just on there. And then the people who were being interviewed said that depending on who you ask and where they were, they may tell you something different that may be as good as or better than what you heard before.
Like, just looking at the whole season in its totality, like, obviously I enjoyed the New Jack show. Shout out to New Jack, who is an official pencil pusher. But I felt like there was more of a story to be told than what was told.
I think
the Benoit.
I think there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more director's cut footage that is probably going to show up later, just for a way to breathe more life into the product. I can't. There's no way I'm sitting on the fact because Dr. D, even his story seemed to be, because we know how Vince McMahon allegedly has felt about people with Southern accents. And David Schultz is from Tennessee. He doesn't get much more Southern than that. And
Tennessee,
you want,
buddy?
Go ahead.
I was saying Tennessee, buddy.
Yeah, and you want him to go against your top baby face and Hulk Hogan? Like right after he jumped ship from the AWA and beat the Iron Sheik and helped start the rock and wrestling era?
And this was a completely different time in life. So we've all heard those stories about Roddy Piper, how he didn't want to do jobs because people felt like other people like him felt like if you did a job on television, you were then worthless to go make a living elsewhere because this was still part of partially territories and people bouncing around. I think they kind of figured Schultz was never going to be more famous than he was after he slapped John Stossel. So let's milk that by making him the main event heel to do the loop with Hogan. Obviously, he's going to be losing over and over again. I feel like he probably would have made a lot of money while losing, but once that was over, he probably would have been over.
Yeah.
And not in the same way that Ric Flair doesn't want us using.
We're talking about done.
Done for, son. Out of there.
Yeah. So are we at the end of season 2 or is there more?
I hope there's more. I'm not certain though. I remember you had the track listing for this.
Let's do our Googles as I pull up.
Our Googles right now.
I'm doing that right now. Season 2. Let's see here. So, no, we got 2 more good ones. Good ones.
Oh, that's right. Because I did hear about one of them. One of them's Owen Hart.
That's the last one. The final days of Owen Hart's the last one. Next week is the last ride of the Road Warriors.
Okay, cool. So I think they'll end the season strong. And by no means am I saying that season 2 is not good, because this is still the best wrestling related television show ever.
Period.
I'm just saying season 1 is dog walking season 2 as far as level of
I liken this to 90s rap, 90s hip hop. Your first album, especially on major labels. For this example, I'll use Def Jam. Redman had one of the dopest first album debuts that we had seen in a long, long time. Same with Onyx. The second album, we can even include DMX in this conversation too. All 3 on Def Jam. The second album, Onyx's second album, Redman's second album, DMX's second album. DMX's second album came out the same year his first album came out. Redman's came out, I think a year and a half later, almost 2 years later. Onyx's came out almost 3 years later. And they were dark. All three of those albums were really, really dark. They had a different sound quality, almost like it was rush recorded or was older songs, and it sounded like the budget wasn't the same. But you're catapulting off of the budget that you blew out the water on your first album to get that crispy sound and get the things that you wanted to get to be popular, and the engineers and the producers and that type of thing to be popular. And then you have all that success off the first album. Your second album looks like a flop, but it's still a success because even though you went platinum on the first one, you go gold on the second one, except for DMX, who actually went platinum on his first two albums. And then the third album comes out, and you got a whole new contract and a whole new budget simply because of how much success you had off that first album. So now you sound crispier than you did off the first album. You don't sound as hungry as you did on the second album because now you eating. And so there's those third albums, Redman's third album, Onyx's third album, DMX's third album, super polished, more higher quality producers, and much better sound. It's just polished. This second season of Dark Side of the Ring, let's look at these at this track listing, if you will. Benoit 1 and 2, very dark episode. In fact, I dare say that's a hard watch. Because you knew the story, you wanted to see what everybody else had to say, but you didn't care about the story because you already knew it was fucked up.
But is that watch any harder than Gino Hernandez?
Gino wasn't national news. Gino hits home for us because we live in the area where that happened, and we saw that as his children.
Okay, well, as a Texan, is it any harder to watch than the Von Erich story?
Yes, because the Von Erich story had to do was more it was more tragic because of people taking their own lives, whereas one man murdered his family
and then himself. But what I'm saying is not to try to make one tragedy more tragic, air quotes, than the other. I'm just saying in terms of story to be told, like there's a lot of meat on the bone for both of those stories,
and they'll continue to be. Like there'll be questions that no one will ever have the answers to, and you know that. Especially, actually, those three: Benoit, Gino, and let's table that because let's keep going down here because there's a couple of more on here that kind of rival the Benoit, the Von Erich, and the Gino story. So, Life and Crimes of New Jack. I hate the fact they call it that, but if he signed off on it, I'm okay with it simply because we talked to him, especially since we talked to him before the show actually aired, and he's still here to tell his story. And it was fucking phenomenal.
And it was slanted. But it was slanted in a specific direction as well.
But it was okay for him because that's part of his character. He's that real. And it was. Right. I mean, even the title is slanted. Like I don't remember like when I went down the titles or the listing for the season of that show being called The Life and Crimes of New Jack. I actually kind of felt some kind of way about seeing The Life and Crimes of New Jack. But then after talking to him, I realized there's no way this goes on without his sign off.
I mean, true.
Brawl.
I just feel like.
Go ahead.
I just feel like because I'm a fan of his and his body of work, there was more to tell. And because it only went with air quotes, The Crimes of New Jack, I felt some type of way.
Well, I think we'll have ample opportunity to talk to him again and get some more insight as to a brighter side versus a dark side, because there wasn't really the dark side to that. It was just the realism that was, because again, if it was dark, he would have went to jail. He didn't. He's here to tell all these stories.
I mean, hey, true.
Well, I'm sorry, he went to jail. He didn't go to prison. So there's that. And he was never charged. Brawl for All, that wasn't really tragic. It was tragic, but it was just more of like just the magnanimous clusterfuck that it was. Now, Jimmy Superfly Snuka and the death of I definitely don't want to overshadow him with that. Nancy Argentino, his then girlfriend, and then the assassination of Dino Bravo. I have a problem with that word assassination. Assassination, it only applies to people of higher stature. And I'm not saying that Dino Bravo isn't worthy of that, but like when people get murdered every day and it's not called an assassination. People get executed every day and it's not an assassination. So why is this any different?
Because you needed a different vocabulary word.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, so that story is super tragic because he was still, active. He was still active competitor.
Like you could have used the term the untimely demise and probably been just as, in pocket, but the assassination is a little sexier.
Mysterious would have been a good one. Assassination just makes it darker than what it is. So it's like a darker side of the ring. So if you're talking about dark, so we got Benoit, we got Dino Bravo, and the death of Nancy Argentino, coupled with the Von Erichs, and Gino, and what was the other one we said on the first season?
The ones that stuck out to me is just being like really tragic.
I mean even Brody was tragic.
Right. Which Brody might be the best episode ever.
Yeah, that's a pretty high bar on Brody. It tells us everything and still tells us nothing.
That part.
But you
got so much information, but everything's still so ambiguous.
Yep. I think by the time we know, the players involved will be gone, which that would be a shame. That being said, the characters, the players of the first season, if you had a tournament, those would probably have a higher echelon. But you do have some heavy hitters in the second season, and the stories themselves. I think the Dino Bravo story and the Nancy Argentino story were probably going to be some of the more open-ended conversations. But you can draw your own conclusions based on the information that's provided in these shows. But those two were really hard watches in terms of like just trying to get through them. But man, the Von Erich one was hard because you knew the story. The Benoit one was so hard because you knew the story. Brody was hard. If you're a wrestling fan, you knew the story. But if you weren't a wrestling fan and you learned it, now it's a hard watch because now you know the story. Like, and then like the Herb Abrams story, few people knew about that one because few people knew who he was. But it's interesting. And I'm with you. That should have been a sad story because he went out the exact way he wanted to. He did exactly what he wanted to do when he went out. Road Warriors, that story is going to be because it's really only Road Warrior, which we're talking about Road Warrior Hawk, which is the last ride there. That story, especially as related to the last days in WWF, WWE during the Attitude Era. Those that was pretty just. I'll never forget that last match with the Dudley Boys. And then Owen Hart. We all know how that one ended, and that's just a freak accident. It's just a terrible accident. And then the bigger story coming out of that has been the family being split over the treatment of Owen Hart's death and the fact that they feel, so I guess, well, again, I'm not going to say too much about it because we'll see it on May the 19th on Viceland. So. Again, shouts out to Dark Side of the Ring. Shouts out to Viceland. This is a really great show. I really hope they continue. And if there's more footage that we're not seeing on this, I really hope that it gets out there because the people need to know more about these stories, especially if you bother to watch it. Give it all to them. Even if you don't do it right now, when you re-release these episodes and rerun them, show us more. That's all I'm asking for. Show us more. We want more of this. Hit the music.
Hey. You know who ain't gon' win. You know who ain't gon' win. You know who ain't gon' win. Just say that shit again. I know who ain't gon' win. You know who ain't gon' win. You know who ain't gon' win. We say that shit again. I said I won. 1, 2, 3. Get your ass out. I won. 1, 2, 3. Get the fuck on. 1, 2, 3. Get your ass out. I won. 1, 2, 3. Get the fuck on.
Once again, we bring you another great episode, edition, whatever it's called, of You Know Who Ain't Gonna Win. featuring the Petty Messiah. Welcome.
Good day.
Give you a nice round of applause here. Well deserved. Missing in action.
Good to be here. Good to be here. I like being here.
Keeping it COVID-free, social distancing, being socially responsible and all that. We appreciate you out there being essential.
Out here, breathing all this essential air.
Money in the Bank.
Ron.
Money in the Bank 2020 is upon us. It's as they keep billing it, the most unique Money in the Bank of all time. Let's just run through the card and then we'll go to the Money in the Bank match, which by what they've been saying about the Money in the Bank match, I would think that the Money in the Bank match is probably happening while these matches are going on in theory. So let's run through the matches first. For the Intercontinental Championship, Sami Zayn, the champion, versus Drew Gulak. Petty, tell him who ain't gonna win.
You know who ain't gonna win?
Who?
Drew Gulak ain't gonna win. That's who ain't gonna win. I bet against Sami Zayn one too many times now. Drew Gulak is going down for the 3-second tan.
All right. Why you still there with us?
There you go. Here. Drew Gulak got to take that L.
Yeah, you gonna eat that one, man, with a Helova kick.
Yeah.
3 of them probably.
I would love to see this L be taken with no outside interference from the Peanut Factory or the Peanut Gallery from Sami Zayn. In fact, I want to see
clean wins out here.
Yes, no. I want it to be a dirty roll up, but I don't want any outside interference.
Well, here's the thing: you don't have Cesaro and Shinsuke just outside for no reason. Somebody gonna get kicked in the face outside the ring.
Yeah,
somebody gonna catch an uppercut. Somebody gonna get kicked in the face, and then Sami Zayn still gonna win.
Shinsuke got to drop a knee.
They got to pay. He's contractually obligated to knee somebody in the face when he's out on the TV.
Kinshasa.
Exactly.
Right.
All
there
right.
you go.
For the Raw Tag Team Championships, the Street Profits, the champions, versus the Viking Raiders. Story here is the Viking Raiders have not lost to the Street Profits, and the Viking Raiders believe that they should still be the champions because they can't lose to the Street Profits. So Petty,
you know who ain't gonna win?
Who?
The Viking Raiders.
Absolutely right.
You're gonna hold his L, fam.
Hey, you on Raw now. This ain't NXT. This is not ROH either. You and your name changed too many times. We don't know the Viking Raiders.
Why they're gonna lose? Because they cut that weird promo where they said they wanted to smoke, and I was like, "Nah, fam, get out of here." If that had been a revival, I'd have accepted that.
Yes, if it were the revival, but unfortunately they've been future endeavored. We'll talk about them later in the show. Well, actually, we've talked about them earlier in the show. SmackDown Tag Team shit.
Drinking out of Viking chalices and shit like that. Riding around doing karaoke like. No, comedians in cars with coffee. That's not for the Viking Raiders.
Listen,
you're the Viking Raiders. If anything, I would prefer y'all getting a bar fight. Like, I would love that. That would, you know what I'm saying? Y'all should not be talking about y'all want to smoke.
Blood on the face, I believe. Charcoal on the face, I believe. Neon paint, not so much for a Viking fan. That is not the move.
We didn't like it for the Usos, and we don't like it for you.
There's that. SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Your champions, the New Day. Yes, the New Day, the champions. Versus the Forgotten Sons. Versus the Miz and Morrison. Versus Lucha House Party. And that's following SmackDown victories by the Sons beating the New Day. And the Lucha House Party getting a sneak win over Miz and Morrison on back-to-back episodes. So that was a fatal 4-way. Petty?
You know who ain't going to win?
Please tell us who ain't going to win.
Hey, anybody that is not Big E or Kofi Kingston. Why are we having this match? We should just make this a first contenders match, number one contenders match between the other 3 teams.
What's the countdown on Xavier Woods?
He's showing up, not until TV comes back. They no reason to bring him back. Xavier Woods is rehabbing. We don't need to catch. But yeah, like a staph infection or something.
Nah. He had a torn Achilles in Australia.
I know what he had, but in the middle of the COVID, I'm not bringing him back. Man, stay in the house, man. You got the podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
There's no reason for him to come back. Let him keep reacting to stuff on TV and the screen in screen. Roll around on the ground. Let's go.
As evidenced by us doing this show virtually, I'm sitting here forgetting about social distancing that fast.
Yeah, he can't come back. No. What is he going to do? Stand outside the ring next to Big E? No, I'm not going to do that. For
the SmackDown Women's Championship, your champion, Bayley versus Tamina. Petty, tell him who ain't going to win.
Tamina.
She never wins. I hate to say it, fam. She never wins.
It ain't gonna happen. Hey, look, Macho Queen Bayley Savage is about to dominate.
Yeah, that just never ends well for Tamina in these matches.
Well, she's gonna get by with a little help from a friend. You know what I'm saying? I said they should have booked this completely different. This should be Bayley and Sasha fighting each other until the end of time, with Tamina being Bayley's muscle. I still say that.
I think that might be your next match at the next pay-per-view or the first pay-per-view we have with a crowd will be Bayley versus Sasha.
As soon as the crowd comes back. And please, if you're listening, keep in mind, none of this is real. This is all just filler and placeholding until like a crowd gets back.
That's a different conversation.
It really is. It's a whole thing.
That might be a whole show right there. What you're talking about.
This is real.
Like this is snow globe material is what you're saying.
It's bad though. It's still bad. Yeah, it's not real.
Bad. There are no excuses for anything that you see on TV right now. The only thing I got for you is none of this is real, and I don't know. Go look at AEW. I don't know.
Oh wow! So funny you should say that. The Universal Championship is on the line. Your champion Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. Not the Fiend, but Bray Wyatt. Petty. This is a layup.
You know who ain't gonna win?
Who ain't gonna win?
The fans. One, because the Fiend's not gonna be out there, and two, because Braun just got this belt. He can't lose. You booked this up into a corner. Again, none of this is real. So, take that with a grain of salt. There's a whole discussion that needs to be had about why Bray Wyatt and the Sweater is fighting at this pay-per-view, but it's not even a cinematic match. It ain't.
Hey, but you answered your own question. It's because it ain't real. So he's still. We're in purgatory right now.
We're still inside of the Firefly.
We are exactly. We are living inside the Firefly Funhouse right this second.
There's an 86% chance he's gonna piss me slap off.
Steiner math. Here we go.
What's that?
There's 86% chance it's gonna piss me slap off.
It is. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would give you 94%. With Cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Like this is the dumbest thing I've seen in a long time. Feed him people, but don't feed him Bray. Like somebody could have took this L, not Bray Wyatt. We shouldn't see Bray Wyatt on TV if he don't have a mask on at all, ever. You could have fed him.
If there was ever a match that needed a crowd,
this is one.
This is the one.
This is the match that should have happened a long time ago that didn't happen. This is not a giveaway match. That's why I say none of this is real. King Corbin ain't doing nothing. He could have took this L, and it would have been believable that he wanted to box with Braun.
King Corbin's pretty busy. He's coming up.
No, he's not.
All right, well, just stand by. I'm going somewhere with that.
Which means he's on a list.
He just made the list. The WWE Championship is also on the line. Champion Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. Oh, wait, hold on. We got to do this the right way. We have to do this the right way. WWE Champion Drew McIntyre versus Kung Fu Pander Seth Rollins. Petty.
I instantly like him better when I hear that music and hear him called Kung Fu Panda.
Petty, tell him who ain't gonna win, man.
Like him better.
For the first time in history, I don't know.
What?
I have no idea. I don't know what they're gonna do. I can't call it. Because honestly, you know it'd be dumb putting the belt on Seth Rollins.
It would be.
And in these crazy COVID times, the WWE is just dumb enough to do that.
Do you think they're that desperate enough, though? I mean,
yep.
Well, wait. Well,
we got the feel good out of it.
My wife didn't listen to episode 65 until I talked to her about what Seth pulled on Instagram the day of Black Wednesday when everybody got let go, and she just looked at me the whole time like, "Are you going to turn this off, or is he going to shut the fuck up?" And
nope.
Yeah. So
no. Here's the thing. He and I don't have any either. I mean, like I get it. Either you're in character or you're not. You're going to toe the company line because they signed your check and all these other people got fired. I get it. I mean, I don't support it, but I see where you're coming from. So in that aspect, we always, like, the WWE is always big up the person that told the company line, no matter what. Now, I don't know what investment they had in Drew going forward. I don't know. And I think with a live crowd, Drew is probably one of the biggest draws you're going to have in the new year.
Let's take it back. September 2009, Tulsa, Oklahoma, SmackDown. Vince McMahon crowns Drew McIntyre the golden, the chosen one.
The chosen one.
Yeah.
The chosen one. That was 11 years ago.
The difference here with Seth is when John Cena was told in the company line and doing all these things, John Cena was being asked to do these things. I don't think he volunteered for these things. Seth is volunteering for all this shit, and it's evident by his Instagram post on the 15th.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to have a company guy.
So tell us who. Pick a loser. Pick a loser.
I don't have one. I don't know. Like I don't.
I want to say Seth Rollins loses.
Yeah, I can't.
Like
I can't say I agree.
How little faith could you have in Drew McIntyre to take the title away from him that you just gave to him at the beginning of April
off of Brock
before he can even hold the belt up in front of a crowd?
I see. That's the thing. I would like to think that, but the WWE has done nothing to show me that that's going to be the case. So I can't really say that with like 100% certainty, like I normally would, like, Drew walked out of this one cakewalk. Can't say that.
Well, they did take the belt off of Jinder and give it to AJ.
Swiftly.
And that was at a house show, wasn't it?
Swiftly, like it didn't even happen on TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, AJ beat Jinder. No, they were overseas in the UK.
So it was a taping? I thought it was a house show overseas where that happened.
Nah, it was a SmackDown.
Okay, so
was it a SmackDown?
But it was still a taping. So we found out days before it happened that it happened.
It was like, so Jinder lost the belt.
Yep,
we just saw Jinder last Friday.
Yeah, he's back. Jinder's back.
He's also noticeably smaller. Wellness.
No, CBD. CBD. His own. His own. All right. So here is the reason why we're here. The Money in the Bank match itself. Now,
all right, let's talk about it.
All right. So I'm going to give you the men and the women at the same time because apparently, according to commentary on WWE television, both matches will be taking place simultaneously in Titan Tower. So on the women's side, we have Asuka, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Carmella. On the men's side, we have Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, King Corbin, Otis, Doze, and AJ Styles. a solo AJ Styles. Petty.
Trash.
You have a bunch of fat to chew through here. So,
all right, wait. Just give me the people.
All right. On the women's side, let's go with the women first. Asuka, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, Carmella. Who ain't gonna win?
Everybody who's not Nia Jax.
Wow. Nia Jax gets her first chance for the championship courtesy of a Money in the Bank.
Yep. And she is going to fight who? Becky Lynch. And they telegraphed it by bringing up her being an unsafe worker, and they kind of put that out there, how she's always hurting people because they trying to get that heat back on her from when she cold-cocked Becky Lynch in the first place.
Hey, the way Nia out here cold cocking people on these with these words, they might deem her unsafe because she wants it with Ronda for real.
Oh yeah, she gonna hurt Ronda. She gonna break Ronda ankle in real life. You never fight a Samoan. Shout out to Justin Rose with the never fight an African joint, but never fight a Samoan.
All right, and then on the men's side, Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, King Corbin, Otis, and AJ Styles.
Run it again, because Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Ray, King Corbin, AJ Styles, and those?
Otis, yep, Otis and AJ.
You know who ain't gonna win?
Who?
Everybody who's not Aleister Black.
Wow. I'm not mad
I think
at
they're gonna
that.
pull the trigger on that thing.
I'm not mad at that.
I think they're gonna pull the trigger on that thing. Ain't no reason not to.
And so, do you think that he challenges? You think he challenges Drew, or does he challenge Braun, or is he challenging a different champion later down the line? Does he hold on to it till Mania next year?
He's holding on to that. Like, he's holding on to that until a live crowd comes back. Because if you think about it, AJ doesn't need it. And let's go to logistics. Doze is a feel-good moment, but I don't see Doze as the champ. They're not going to let Doze carry the belt.
Doze is essentially a Caucasian R-Truth right now.
Yeah. With Rikishi's build. So there's that. So when we look at AJ doesn't need it, and AJ's probably, upset because his boys are gone. OC's not there. It ain't like AJ gonna run up on somebody and hold the belt with his table. Who else? Ray is probably on his way out.
And Corbin has been known to lose or squander opportunities with Money in the Bank, as evidenced by in the past.
Kept Corbin as my dark horse number 2 pick
to redeem himself.
But yeah. I mean, he's definitely redeemed himself. His mic work has been impeccable. He's been punching people in the face with no crowd. He's shown up to every match. Like, realistically, if it wasn't Aleister Black standing there, Corbin would definitely be my selection. But Aleister Black has been kicking people in the face.
Well, there you have it.
The right way.
There you have it. That's how we play. You know who ain't gonna win next week.
There you go.
Next week we'll be doing another episode of You Know Who Ain't Gonna Win. As we
Double or Nothing.
AEW Double or Nothing. The card is already set.
Do that right now.
The card is already set, but there may be some changes, so we need to wait for that. We need to wait for that one.
I'm actually excited about that one. This is
yeah, I don't know. I'm still on the fence about the location.
Really? I mean,
especially after their mayor, man. It just
it'll be all good. Look, the thing is, if you're gonna watch this coming Sunday, try to enjoy it as much as you can. Keep in mind, this is not real, people. This is
Snow Globe.
Something else.
Snow Globe.
This is a soap opera that we're looking at. This is not the real thing.
And keep in mind, we're not saying that it's fake. We're saying that it's just this is alternate reality right now.
There's a steel in a tank somewhere putting people's names on a ball.
I still want everybody watching to hold these people accountable for the shit that they put on TV.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean,
somebody got to answer some questions when these crowds come back.
Yeah, look, honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't know if anybody's going to answer any questions when the crowds come back. But when the crowds come back, what you really think you want to see is what you're going to see. Drew will be kicking people in the face, counting down to 3. Crowds will be hungry. I don't care what you put in front of them. I mean, as long as you don't mess it up too bad. My personal thing is when the WWE goes back to live TV, where there's a crowd, as a goodwill gesture, just cart Mick Foley out there so the crowd can cheer from the first 8 minutes of the show. It's like,
I think we got enough of Mick Foley on the Dark Side of the Ring this week. Yeah. Swab, you got anything to add to this?
Not a thing. I have no expectations. My hopes are not up. I do not know what to expect, and maybe that's a good thing. No, we will not prostitute Mick Foley. He's done. If you haven't seen the new Untold on I Am the Game on making Triple H to a main event player, you get some great content from Mick Foley. So I would say go check that out. But no, there's no quick fixes for this. We're not going to allow these people to continue to skirt by and use crowd reaction as a crutch. You have to actually deal with the shit that's on TV right now, and it's bad.
Please understand, there's a reset clock that is waiting for live crowds to be in a WWE event. One of the few things I can guarantee you're going to see. You're going to see Ronda Rousey come out and beat somebody else.
Wow.
See that.
You think we get another appearance from Ronda after all the shit she's been talking lately?
Oh, yeah, of course. They just building up, priming her for the heel position. She going to come out there and beat the crap out of somebody.
Okay.
There's a good chance that Brock Lesnar may show up on the first live event back. Once it's guaranteed that they can be live with actual people there. Brock may show up. I still feel like I want Drew to win. I hate that I can't trust them to do the right thing. I can't trust them to do the right thing. I want Drew to win because I like Drew kicking people in the face. I want Drew and Braun to fight to unify the championships.
So you want to go back to one championship again?
I mean, I don't have any problem with it because that means your belt can be defended and dropped at any time. And SmackDown and the Attitude Era taught us having a belt is the most dangerous thing you can do.
Once we get these crowds back, that'll be the real test to see, the real gauge to see whether or not this Fox experiment was actually viable or not.
The bad part about it is the Fox experiment in itself, it just had bad timing. If the COVID,
so many things have bad timing related to the COVID, especially as it relates to the world of professional sports, as evidenced by the cancellation and potential sale of the XFL.
Oh man, that right there was heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
That was heartbreaking. I was like, man.
All right.
But Vince is gonna take an L like a champ. So, hopefully it won't be with the WWE. We will see.
Well, Suave, no more to say. Take it to the house.
Pencil pushers. Heads up. Pencils down.
Rest in peace, Joe Pedicino. 10 bell salute for you.